Hi, I am Alicia. You discovering my channel is no accident. I'm a nutritional herbalist and master energy healer at the Energy Healing Channel. The Energy Healing Channel was created to clarify information on topics such as Reiki being a healing modality and honestly, what is it really doing during and after a session? I'll cover other major crisis topics on Reiki for cancer, chakras and organ health, herbalism, nutritional Ayurveda for cancer, just to name a few. If these and similar healing topics are something you struggle with, you are in the right place. Hi guys, so the topic of this video is the disadvantages of Reiki. So I first wanted to take a look at the actual definitions of the word disadvantage and then what is Reiki. So as we can see here, the word disadvantage, when used as a noun, is an uncomfortable circumstance or condition that reduces the chances of success or effectiveness. There's basically some type of drawback, there's a snag, there's a downside. It's supposed to be like a stumbling block, something to that nature. Um, if it's used as a verb, it's um, to be placed in an unfavorable position in relation to someone or something else. So, like treated unfavorably, put into a disadvantage, like that. And then let's take a look at the definition of Reiki. So, Reiki is a healing technique based on the principle that the therapist can channel energy into the patient by means of touch to activate the natural healing processes of the patient's body and restore physical and emotional well being. All right, let's go ahead and have this discussion. Okay, so as we just saw, there really isn't a disadvantage to what Reiki is. The disadvantage would actually come from the practitioner themselves. Say if they aren't regularly practicing, they learned it online. Um, Sad to say, I mean, I know there's kind of a debate between like, should you be able to learn Reiki online? Now, I've done both, so I can speak to being a student online, getting the attunements, opposed to actually going to a teacher's class and being taught and attuned there. So, my experience with learning online, I actually learned on the platform Udemy. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. I'm sure if you have been looking at Reiki or have been interested in learning Reiki, you may have come across it online because, it's becoming more and more prevalent and popular for people to create a course and subscribe to Udemy to sell that course. Now, there's so many forms of Reiki that are listed on Udemy, but in reality, there's really only one form of Reiki. Those other modalities, people basically have been getting creative, trying to stand out, things of that nature. When it comes down, when you boil it down to the root, it is the same energy because with Reiki, like um, you can communicate with angels and spirit guides. You can do Reiki for animals, um, all animals, pets, even like farm animals, domestic animals, all of them. You can do crystal Reiki as well. Um, Once you learn Reiki, your lens and your experiences start to develop and change. And like I said, there's a bit of a debate in the community of, you know, should you learn Reiki online? And being a student of an online course that has to deal with a more physical nature, I would say it helps you to understand it, from reading it and things like that. But the actual application of giving a session is missing. People can explain things to you all day long, but if you don't have that actual hands-on experience, it's hard to really grasp the concept a lot of times. And then when you do present it to somebody, you're like, hey, I've learned how to do, some healing, this healing technique. It's supposed to help, promote relaxation, and it helps to reduce stress and things like that. A person will get excited, but then when you can't deliver, they say they didn't feel anything. They are unsure of what's going on. You're nervous and you don't really know what's going on, and things like that. Because honestly, there is a level of like confidence that has to come with it as well. But I would say one of the disadvantages of Reiki is if the practitioner is not properly trained. And so recently because I had the online Reiki training for, I would say, about a year. I was, doing it. I was doing some distance healings for some people. But there was just something that just wasn't feeling right. I just felt that it wasn't complete, that I wasn't giving a complete session. And so I was like, well, let me look again. So I did another Google search. I did a little more of a deeper dive. And I actually came across Reiki.org. Now, Reiki.org is actually the International Center for Reiki Training, and they are accredited as far as being a training facility where you can actually receive college credits. And not to say, that the accreditation makes a huge difference, but to me, it just felt more official. And they do not teach online classes. You have to actually go to a physical class with a licensed master teacher. And that was the other difference. You actually receive a license in doing Reiki. And so it made it a lot more serious because, when you come to somebody as a healer, they want to have that confidence that you've been trained and that you basically know what you're talking about. After I took the online class, I just didn't feel as confident, like I said. And, when you have the backing of an institution, that has gone through those hoops and loops to make the program where the practitioner can be licensed, that says a lot in itself. So I would recommend searching for a practitioner that is actually listed on their website. Again, that's Reiki.org. Now, there are some people that are kind of like, well, they're not the only ones. There's, these other modalities. There's this traditional this traditional that. And I say, hey, if that's where you feel comfortable going, then by all means go there. But my point is that, don't say that there's disadvantages to Reiki if the practitioner hasn't fully been trained properly. And with the International Center of Reiki Training, I feel that the curriculum is very thorough and things of that nature. But when you really look at the history of Reiki and how sacred they had it from the beginning, then you would really understand that, doing something virtually or online just will not cut it. Just like, for example, a massage therapist, you can't go to an online course to become a massage therapist. You actually have to be in class to learn the techniques. And Reiki is the exact same way. When I took so I'm actually a Holy Fire Reiki practitioner. And so when I went this past summer, it was the best experience. Like, during I believe it was my second attunement, I actually, got a very deep message. The Reiki energy told me to relax and enjoy the upgrade. And I had just it was the most beautiful experience. And so that in itself just helped boost my confidence so much more than I can really express. And, Mrs. Takata, she was really a pioneer in helping to keep Reiki, I don't want to say sacred. She wanted to keep it at a high standard. For her classes, she was charging $10,000 a class to become a master. And, that's how serious it was, because, you are dealing with a person's well-being and you are dealing with a person's health. So it is almost like you're being a doctor, except for it's for energy. So you're basically an energy doctor in a sense. And so when it comes to looking at advantages and disadvantages, there really are no disadvantages of Reiki besides, really picking who the practitioner is. That's really where the disadvantage is going to come from. And that's really all I have to say about that, because all of my experiences have been positive. Although, I have had some patients or clients that, because they were resisting letting go of something, they didn't feel much of anything. And that's because they had such a big block in, certain areas. A lot of times people have a lot of stuck energy in their lower chakras. Even in their feet chakras, there's a lot of stuck energy, and closed off hearts and things of that nature. People go through a lot of trauma and things, especially when they're little kids and stuff like that. So, like, really being in tune with the frequency of Reiki is going to make sure that, you, the client, doesn't see it as having disadvantages. Okay, guys, so I wanted to insert my some of my notes from my Holy Fire Reiki Attunement time while I was getting the attunements. So the teacher would have us do a guided meditation, and then we would share our experiences, and then we would get our attunement. And so I'm going to read the meditation portion, what happened during the meditation, and then what happened during the portion when the attunement was being given. So we'll start with the first one. So for the Holy Fire Reiki Meditation 1, this was a guided meditation. So I started out walking in the forest to a white sandy beach. It was very blue and clear, and just a beautiful day out on the beach overall. There were mountains across the water, and I went into the water and dipped myself many times as if I was cleansing myself. Also, while I was doing that, I experienced seeing flashes of white light as if the light was coming on in the center of my head. Then the water changed to ribbons of light, and I danced on tiptoe like a ballerina. Then I traveled through space, seeing a lot of stars. It was really dark, but just seeing a lot of stars and just flying is what I felt. I just felt like I was flying. Okay, and that ends the meditation. That's kind of where it ended. And then during the Holy Fire Attunement one, this is what I experienced. I followed the guided meditation. Then I was in darkness, still and calm, very, very present in the moment. For a short time, I started traveling through this long, long hall. I turned left down the hall, down another hall, and it's like I was in a hospital. Just observing, there were different symbols on the walls. The it was basically like a black white movie. If you've seen a black and white movie, that's kind of the color. There wasn't really any color, but it was just kind of a black or white scene. And there were, hospital employees, and the glass windows or whatever, that kind of separate the rooms. That's what it looked like. And I was just kind of going down the hall, like just observing. And then everything went dark again, and just an immense calmness and just being centered and being present came over me. Okay, and that was the end of Attunement 1. Okay, and before I read the next part, so the meditation before this one, I saw, no, it was actually in the Attunement 1. So I did get a glimpse of a hawk that was perched on a branch as if he was going to fly. He was kind of like he wasn't flapping his wings, but he was kind of like shaking them out. I'm sure you've seen that where they're kind of like getting ready to fly. He was kind of doing that movement. So here's what I experienced. So much happened. And I'll try to recall everything that happened. The hawk I saw previously flew over me slowly, and I was focused on the light coming from above, and it whirled around, starting at my feet. It came from above, and then went down and started at my feet. Then each leg, up and up my body. Each leg had a vortex. Then my torso, my arms, my head, all the same, had a vortex. Then I looked up again and was taken up in an elevator. It turned into a huge white cross-looking object. As I stepped off, I saw in front of me a mortar and pestle, and the pestle was swirling round and round by itself. And I got the message, herbalism equals yes, you're on the right path. Then I was traveling in a wormhole, it seemed like, and I was in space again. I saw a large, tall tree from the roots to the top. And at the top of the tree, it had the world sitting on it. There was this thick band of white light around the world, but then I could also see black or dark spots kind of where nativeness or native energy was concentrated on the surface. Then I was in a locker room of angels and they were preparing for something. And it's funny because I was miniature. I felt like I was miniature, and the angels were like really huge. They were like putting, I wouldn't call it armor, but they were getting dressed, or they were dressing themselves with getting ready for something. Okay, so that was for the start or the opening meditation. That's what I experienced. And then during the second attunement, this is what happened. So during my experience this time, I made it to the pond. Well, before I jump in, all of these were kind of like guided meditations to a certain point, and then we were basically able to just continue our meditation on our own until the teacher told us to come back out of meditation. So during my experience this time, I made it to the pond. I sat down cross-legged, and as I looked up, I saw the light, or the holy fire Reiki, floating in the air in front of me, over the lake, as like a snake that was translucent and dancing and waving in the air. Then it started to make the Reiki 2 symbols, which are Chokurei, Seiheki, and Hansazeshonin. I watched it, and it began to enter my crown chakra. And as it did, it said, "Relax and enjoy this downloaded upgrade." I went into Gasho position, and I began to give in, and it began to give me insight as to where I should rent a space to start my Reiki practice, and that I will be helping lots of people. I saw just a sea of people that will be coming to me for help. I asked other questions, and it gave me distinct answers to them. We had a full long conversation. Then I could see clouds of heaven, but they were off at a far distance on the other side of the pond. Then a beautiful large gold star appeared, and it said to me, "You are a celestial being." And that just made me really elated. And towards the end, my hands and ankles were buzzing, and I felt something unwrapping from around my ankles, like something was removed, was being unwrapped from around my ankles. And that was just a snippet. I just wanted to share that with you guys. And that ends the topic today. This has been Alisia with the Energy Healing Channel. I'd like to leave a note with you. Every one of you is a hyperdimensional being. The power that you have is all the real power you'll ever need. Being half-hearted equates to seeking approval from an external God, religion, or system. Your body is the real Bugatti, but maintenance is long, long overdue, my friend. Once you know thyself, You will know all things.